Hello, Degrassi fans, and welcome to the Degrassi Kid podcast, where each week we break down the history and impact of our favorite teen TV show. I'm Jocelyn, and this week we're joined by special guest Parham Rownaghi. You'll recognize Parham as playing Saad Al'Maliki on season 3 and 4 of Degrassi Next Class. Saad joined Degrassi after fleeing Syria as a refugee due to an ongoing war crisis, and he was introduced alongside other Syrian students, like Rasha, who became Zoe's future girlfriend, and Abra, his little sister. While at Degrassi, Saad developed close and personal friendships with characters like Maya and Lola just as easily as he developed conflict with characters like Tiny and Zig, who insisted that Saad was a terrorist. All of this culminated into a fascinating story about what it's like to immigrate to Canada, how trauma and resilience can shape someone's point of view. And while Saad's story does end with him declaring that he's leaving Degrassi forever, it's Lola who gives him a reason to stay whenever she kisses him and invites him to the school dance, leaving his story open-ended and full of hope. But unfortunately, Degrassi Next Class was canceled before we'd ever get to see it, leaving Saad's story to feel unfinished and incomplete. What was supposed to happen to Saad in season 5 of Degrassi Next Class? How much did Parham know about Degrassi before getting on the show? And does he believe that Lola and Saad would have stayed together? Today, we're sitting down with Parham Rownaghi and Degrassi superfan EeveePacini to talk about the history and impact of Degrassi, and it's only going to happen here on a brand new episode of the Degrassi Kid podcast. Parham, welcome to the Degrassi Kid podcast. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Hello, everyone. I'm very excited to be here. Looking forward to this.
Me too. We also have a Degrassi superfan with us, EeveePacini. Evie, the reason you're here is because Degrassi Next Class is your favorite TV show in the world. Why is Degrassi Next Class so important to you?
So I'm like an overall Degrassi fan. It has been part of my life for as long as I've been conscious, basically. But I feel like the era that you grew up with in your formative years is really the one that sticks for you. And for me, that is Degrassi Next Class. I went to school for screenwriting and production and all of that, and Degrassi was a huge catalyst and inspiration for me. My dream was literally like, my plan was, okay, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to graduate, and then I'm going to be able to write for Degrassi Next Class season 8 or whatever. And then halfway through my first year of college, Degrassi Next Class got canceled. So I continued my degree, and it's still my career, it's still what I do, and I have Degrassi and Degrassi Next Class specifically to thank for that. So how could I not? How could I not love the show?
I love that so much. One thing that's very cool too about this specific group recording this together is that we've actually met each other before at Linda Schuyler and Stephen Stone's house. Parham, I'd like to ask you first, what was it like to reunite with your cast members? Any standout memories?
Yeah, it's nice actually. Because when I first started on the show, like I was relatively new to acting. I think I'd been acting for about a year, so I was still kind of trying to get my foothold into the industry, like kind of learn how to act, how to behave, not get on anyone's bad side. Mm-hmm. So when I first started out, I don't think I got to really like express myself the way I wanted to. I was also, a 19-year-old kid, so you're still sort of, along with everybody else in the show, you're sort of finding out your identity if you haven't already. And so I don't think I got to connect with people when I was on the show as much as I was able to later on. So when we always had these reunions, we're a year or two older, we know a little bit more about ourselves, we've experienced more of life, and I got to kind of connect with them on a higher level. And it's been great. Yeah, like that last time that we all met up, I felt really like one with the group. It was great to see you too. You were also at the Canada Walk of Fame, which was nice. Yeah. I was glad to have you there as well. Yeah, so that was a great experience.
Nuts. I got to go on stage. Yeah. That one was crazy. It's very cool for me. It's super surreal as a Degrassi super fan who loves the show so much and sees so many different dynamics on the show to then see you guys in real life, because those dynamics don't exist. It's not like, oh, this person bullied me in high school. It's like that was fictional. So it's very cool to just stand back and watch these different people kind of get together. So that's one of my key takeaways from that event. Evie, do you have a standout memory?
Absolutely. First of all, I wanted to say how crazy it was that it really did feel like a Next Class reunion. Like I would say the era that had the most people there was your era. Like there was a lot of people there, but it was very surreal because we went into that party and kind of had chatted with a few people, but didn't really recognize that many people. And then we saw you and Dahlia, and we was like, oh, hey, like it was almost like kind of seeing like somebody that you went to high school or something with because you guys were very friendly and very like easy to talk to. It was very like, oh, hey, we know you guys. And it was a very cool introduction. I feel like we got along very well and started
Yeah.
chatting about like acting and production and editing. Like Dahlia's started
Yeah.
editing and all that kind of stuff. So we got to connect over that.
Absolutely. Me and Dahlia, we were on the show like I mean because we filmed the two seasons in like one summer. When it came to these reunions and getting to see everybody, I felt like, we were sort of all in the same boat at times, like just
Yeah.
sort of just because I didn't get the time to really spend as much on set with all the other actors. These
Mm,
reunions were my time to really reconnect, and so I knew the feeling of being in like this new place and trying to like where do I go, what do I
yeah.
say,
Trying to
sort of
like
thing.
see a
So
familiar face. And yeah, you
yeah,
guys were the familiar
exactly.
face. And I'm like, it's crazy
Yeah,
that the
yeah,
familiar faces are these people that I've known and watched on TV for so many
I
years. And
know.
you're just like casually bumping elbows at a party. It was really cool.
It's so
absolutely. Yeah, it
surreal.
was a pleasure. It was really nice to be
Yeah.
around you guys. Absolutely, and I'm glad we're back here today. So yeah.
I know. I'm stoked. Me and Evie are going to take this moment to show off to the Degrassi fans what we got signed at
Oh,
that event.
nice. Yes.
I got the
I forgot to grab
the
mine.
ID tag. Oh, well, Evie's looks like this. You can insert it after, but we got to get her Degrassi swag signed, and that was very, very cool. The last thing I want to say about that, too, is I think it was so cool to see at that party specifically, her name is Zoe Newman. She was the very first Degrassi character ever
Mm,
on the show, all the way to someone like Saad Al'Maliki, who was, the star of
yeah.
season 4 of Next Class. That was a very, very cool thing to see what I like.
The whole history of Degrassi in like one place, it must have been surreal, right?
Absolutely crazy. Absolutely
That's the
crazy.
Yeah.
perfect word for it. Yeah, surreal.
Yeah, and you had mentioned that you were relatively new to acting whenever you got on Next Class. I have deep dived and watched every interview you've ever done to learn a little bit more about it.
Oh no. All
I'd love to hear
right.
your words though, but can you tell us the story of how did you go from being a guy who had a crush on a girl that likes Michael Jackson and likes dancers to becoming an actor on her favorite TV show?
Obviously, if anyone has seen that interview, yeah, like I liked a girl when I was in grade 7 who was really into Michael Jackson. So I kind of thought it would be cool to like learn the Billie Jean dance. And then I posted it on Facebook and then it got a nice reception. So we had a talent show that year. I think it was our first talent show at the school. I decided to do my Michael Jackson dance. I did it to Smooth Criminal. People loved it. I loved being on stage. I was like, this is where I want to be. This is where I felt like I belong. But I was kind of mistaken in the fact that I thought that, dance was probably the route for me. I realized I was a good copycat. Like I was watching a lot of these videos and trying to like imitate what I was seeing. So I was a very good imitator, but I applied to an acting school, which was called the Claude Watson School of the Arts in Earl Hague. I went into that dance audition, not realizing it was for ballet. Yeah, everybody's in their leotards, looking all ready to go and, do some pirouettes. And I was in my sweatpants and a t-shirt and I was ready to do like a little hip-hop routine. But yeah, I felt very out of place. I had to do a whole workshop on ballet and I didn't know anything about ballet. So that was very embarrassing, but I got some good laughs. So that was nice. Left that experience being like, I'm never getting into this school. I don't know if I really want to speak to anybody because it's very embarrassing, especially when I first started in grade 9. People would be like, weren't you the guy that like auditioned for dance? And I'm like, no, that was not me. That
Nope,
was, you were totally
not me.
mistaken. It was someone else. I moved away from dance after that. It kind of like, put a damper on my confidence. And
Mhm.
then I got to grade 10 and I was going to move. And the house I was moving to was sort of away from my school area. And
Yeah.
the only way that I could stay in that school was to get into this arts program. So I'm like, okay, what else can I do? And so I looked at drama. I decided to apply for the grade 11 year to be a drama major. I was in grade 10. I got grouped with a bunch of grade 8s. And then I sort of took the lead and we did a whole, I guess, like a little tableau sort of scene together. And it went very well. People liked it. I got into the school. And that's when I started acting. And then from there, there was one day that Larissa Mayer, she's the casting director for Degrassi, had come in for an open casting call. I was 16. So yeah, it was my first year at Claude Watson. And we were the first ones to go in as the drama majors. I auditioned for her. She really liked me. At the time, I had a kind of like a scam agent, as you would say.
Oh gosh.
So yeah, like I remember Larissa just sort of, she was the only one sending me out for auditions. Like I was not getting anything else. And then eventually I got a proper agent when I was 18 and she started booking me on my first 2 jobs. I got, it was Raising Expectations was my first job. And then also The Other Kingdom. They were like one and done TV shows, but I got my first kind of taste of the whole acting industry, I would
Yeah.
say. I remember my first episode that I did, they actually like took me aside and they cut my lines. They were like, oh, you know what? You might not need to say this whole big little portion, which is most of your lines. But it was fine because I was just happy to be there and I didn't realize it was like a bad thing. I was just kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. And then my and my acting coach was kind of like it is what it is, you know. But my acting coach was like, oh, they cut your lines, oh, that sucks. And I was like, okay, whatever, I don't care. I mean, like, less work for me, I
You got
guess.
to be on a
But
set. Yeah.
yeah, you know, it was just a nice experience. And then the second one I did, I remember I was supposed to play like a fairy prince. I just remember I wasn't really getting the whole douchebag of the character enough, and they kept trying to like push that for me. I think eventually I did a pretty decent job, but I was just sort of, yeah, like trying to manage these, these different opinions and different directions within the industry. And then eventually I got Degrassi. I had my call back. It was my second call back. I remember walking in and Larissa being like, we love Parham. This is Parham. He's so professional, this and that. She really hyped me up. And I was like, yay, glad to be back. Stefan kind of being like, all right, we'll be the judge of that. Let's see. And but very friendly. Everybody, you know, kind of wanted me to succeed, which was really nice. And then I did that audition. And I remember after I did the audition, they had asked me, oh, can you do it like with an accent? And I was not really prepared to do it with an accent. I was like, I'm not very comfortable with that right now.
Yeah.
And they were like, that's fine, that's fine. And then they, that was the end of my audition. And I thought I had butchered it by not doing the accent, but turns out that didn't happen. And yeah, the rest is history. So
Oh
yeah.
my God. And then you're on
That's the whole route. Yeah.
That's
And
incredible.
then I'm on Degrassi. Yeah.
I think with the ballet story, that's a perfect example to remember that when you go through obstacles in life, sometimes the universe is just telling you, no, go take this path instead.
Yeah.
That's what that means.
Exactly. It's just like you just need a little redirect, a little pivot, you know?
Yeah,
So yeah.
exactly. And when you auditioned for Degrassi, was Saad the only character you ever auditioned for?
Oh no, I mean, I'll be honest, I can't tell you that I remember all of the characters I auditioned for. I think whenever they sent out the auditions, it was just sort of like a placeholder name. Like I don't know exactly if that's the character that carried over, or if they even used that character. I think a lot of the times when they were auditioning, they were just trying to see like a sort of like a version of the character, and then if they found a person that they thought maybe could be interesting, then they would build the character around it. So it seemed like it was pretty fleshed out, you know, like they were definitely at the time, you know, with the current events going on, the Syrian refugee crisis, they definitely wanted to tackle that and bring some representation to that. So I felt like that character was kind of pretty much set in stone. But yeah, I did audition for like 4 or 5 characters before that. I wasn't successful, but I could tell that, you know, even though you don't get a certain role, if the casting director can see that, like, you know, you're doing a pretty decent job, you're submitting your work on time. I guess nowadays with self-tapes, back then we could actually go into the room. But if you're going in there, you're doing your work well, then, you know, they'll call you back. And, you know, that's kind of what happened. So eventually you keep knocking enough times, it will work out. And it did. And I'm very grateful.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the casting, perfect. Like I couldn't imagine you playing other character. It's like, again, the universe is saying, okay, not this one, but this is the one that you're destined to play.
Yeah, like it's crazy because I never, when I first did the character of Saad, I was really trying to figure it out because I'm not Syrian personally, and I definitely haven't experienced like the turmoil and everything that's been going on within that region, and you know all the struggles that the Syrian refugees had to experience. So trying to get myself into that world was one thing. It's hard sometimes to have to represent a character that's like gone through so much and not being, you know, from a place personally where you've experienced that. But eventually I remember talking to Amanda and being like, oh, you know, like, do you feel like you're ever going to get the character? Like, when does the character really come to you? This and that. And I'm like, and then she was just like, it'll just come. It'll come. Like, you'll see. It'll just sort of click. And it did. Eventually, I think in season 4, it kind of clicked. I was a little like worried about my accent and everything in season 3. And then eventually I sort of just was like, you know what? I'm just going to forget about the accent and just sort of do my thing. I have too many lines to worry about this. And I felt like, yeah, I just felt like it worked out eventually. And, you know,
Wow.
I'm happy that you guys enjoyed it and hopefully other people did too. But yeah.
Yeah, I really connected with Saad's character, and I know me and Evie will go on and on about why. But one of the questions I have is, I know you lived in like 4 different countries, I think, right? Did that have any type of impact on how you were able to connect with Saad as someone coming to Canada for the first time?
Yeah. When I was born in Iran, and then I moved to like Dubai when I was like 2, and I lived there for like about 8 months. So those first 2 countries were in my like early years. I can't say I have a lot of memories about them. But then to move from Dubai over to England and having to kind of adjust to, a new language, making friends. Fortunately, I think I assimilated very, very quickly given the fact that I was so young. But then to go from like making all of these friends and building this life, and then by the time I was 10 years old, we had to move to Canada. And I remember that was really tough for me, just having to like leave my friends and the people that I loved and just this life that I built, and knowing that this is, the end of that story. Sometimes every time I think back, like what if I had stayed, and like what could have happened. I took that, obviously not even to the same scale of what Saad had to experience, sort of being forced out of his home and receiving a lot of discrimination and prejudice. But that alone was very, very tough for, a young kid like me to come out here. But, eventually I got used to it. I lost my accent. I had a British accent at the time. I remember people being like, oh, say this, say water. And I'll be like, oh, water. And then like, everybody being like super, wild about it. And I felt like I was kind of like standing out too much, so I wanted to fit in with everybody, and then my accent sort of went away. Here I am now, and I could do like a semi-decent British accent, so it's still in the back there if I need it.
That is incredible. It's cool to hear. I know, we can't, when you play a character, you can't always connect to every single element of them,
Right.
the tragedy that he goes through. But it is interesting to learn the ways in which actors connect to even those micro moments of Saad still had that experience of like leaving all of his friends behind and moving to a new country. And it's important to see that on TV. So yeah, I like that.
Absolutely.
I'm curious, when you've landed the role of Saad, you've done this ballet audition, it didn't go well. You've auditioned for Degrassi 5 times, it's not working. You land the role of Saad. How do you feel, and who's the first person you want to tell?
Oh yeah, I remember it so vividly. I got the call 3 or 4 days afterwards, and they said, yeah, they want to book you for Degrassi, and I was like, what? And like I remember the only time I've ever gotten a call from my agent, and I was just sort of like bursting with excitement. I was like, that's amazing. Yes, whatever. When do I start? And this and that. They're like, yeah, they're going to need you in like, I think it was like the end of April or something like that. And I was buzzing. I got off the phone. I ran straight downstairs to my mom, who was like working at the time. And I opened the door and I'm like, Mom, I got the role. And then she was in shock. She brought her to tears. She was so happy for me. And we sort of like, we just hugged and embraced. And it was a very exciting moment for the both of us. I think that my mom growing up wanted to be an actress herself, but, was kind of veered away for various reasons. Growing up in Iran, it's not as much of a common, career aspiration for people, or like, I guess a suggested career aspiration. So she sort of, got shifted away from that. And then to kind of see me, have this dream. And at first they didn't really, have the full belief in it, until this show came to fruition. And then from there, it was a life-changing experience. It was nice to have that belief from my parents. And like the sky was the limit at that point. I just felt like I made it. I was on top of the world.
I feel like having a couple of like struggles in a few years where you don't get it really makes you appreciate when you do have that big moment of success. So I'm glad that you were able to really celebrate that, and kind of those moments of like not knowing if the like almost disbelief of it, I don't know if it's going to work out, makes that moment where it finally does work out even more special. Like if you had gotten it right away, it wouldn't have hit that hard.
Not at all. Yeah, I remember because I think I officially started professionally acting, like really going out for TV shows when I was 18. I remember I was in high school. People would be asking me, oh, what do you want to be like after high school? And I'm like, I want to be an actor. And people would kind of laugh or scoff at you and brush it off. Be like, oh, you're going to go to business. You're going to do this and that. I don't know, whatever. Like a sort of generic career path that most people would want to strive for. Generic, I wouldn't say is the right word, but like, like a
more traditional.
The more traditional jobs, exactly. And then to have that happen and then being able to kind of tell people and just sort of seeing the reactions from people. I had that one friend that told me, oh, yeah, you're going to go into business, this and that. He like took me aside one day and apologized to me. And I don't know, it's just like, it was like these sort of things that went full circle, and like people kind of came to realizations that like, oh, maybe they were wrong in their beliefs and it wasn't right to put people down. But at the end of the day, I was just like, maybe those things in the back of my head, those voices sort of pushed me. And then when this happened, like when I got on the show, I was just elated. It was great.
It was even better.
Exactly. How did it feel when the show started airing? Did you get to watch it with your family? Did you get to tell your friends I told you so?
I watched each of the seasons with my family. In the first season, it was just like a weird experience, kind of like watching it with my family. on the screen because like they've known me since birth. They like, as the person Parham. So seeing me play like this completely different character from a different background with a different accent
Yeah.
was a whole thing. But they really bought it. They were really into it and all that stuff. I think when you're young at that age, getting on a TV show, you're gonna get a very mixed variety of responses. Like some people are going to be like, wow, that's really really cool. A lot of people are going to be like, oh, you probably had connections, your parents probably knew people, that's how you got on the show, this and that, trying to downplay things.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the general response in the beginning. And then when season 4 came out, that was like really my own plot line, which was exciting. Yeah, again, you get those mixed responses, but I know that like I was very, very proud of season 4. I was really happy with how the storyline went, the type of subject matter I got to dig into. I thought it was, there's just a whole variety. It was a whole roller coaster, different scenes and different things I got to go through. It was just that was when I imagined being on a TV show. That's kind of what I wanted, and I got it. And even though it was, that one season, and then unfortunately, the life of Saad didn't carry out on the screen. It was left open ended. I'm forever grateful for that. And I watched it again, this week, and I was just like, damn, like I was really hard on myself sometimes. And I think the voices that those people that were like maybe giving me negative criticism or things like that, I was just thinking about it too much because I was watching. I was like, you know what, I did pretty good.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Now you see what I see. Why we love the show. Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly. I think it needed a few years for me to really look at it, and then I can kind of see it like from a different angle as like as an outsider. So I don't know. It felt nice. Yeah.
I like that. Have you ever seen any other eras of Degrassi, even like TNG or earlier seasons?
I'll be honest, like I watched back when, no one was on streaming services and they were watching TV. I definitely was like, skimming through the episodes, and I would see different episodes, maybe out of order. It wasn't like a thing that I watched on a regular basis, but I did see quite a few episodes, especially on TNG. And I did see, a lot of it was mostly TNG, to be fair, in the later seasons, maybe between like seasons 10 and 14, when like Miles and I don't know, all the characters that eventually graduated within my year were sort of like growing up into their formative years. But like I just remember seeing the show. I remember really liking Miles. I just thought he had a lot of, like, the actor I thought had a lot of range, Eric. So that was a pleasure to meet him. It was just crazy to see all these people in person, like just hanging out with them in person that I had like watched on screen and imagined being in that position and being there. And then I don't know. Yeah, that was pretty cool. But I can't say that I watched it like on a regular basis. Yeah, It was just something that sort of came up, and I thought, oh, hey, this is cool, and I got carried away in the story a little bit. But yeah,
that's so cool. Now you know how we felt at the party when we saw you. We're like, oh, we just get to hang out with them. Like, that's so cool. Evie, I know you had some questions about the TNG era. Is there anything you wanted to ask Parham?
Well, I was curious how much you had watched the show and how, like, kind of which characters stood out to you, if any. I know it sounds like Eric / Miles maybe stood out to you. Were there any other characters, even possibly characters that you used as inspiration for playing Saad?
Yeah, like the characters I really enjoyed I liked Eli.
Mm.
I liked Miles. In terms of like their story, like I didn't really take inspiration too much from any specific person from Degrassi, to be fair. I thought that my character, just coming from this totally different background, being brooding and sort of like just, I don't know, mysterious to start out with, I could maybe relate it to Eli. I'll be honest, I didn't like watch his entire storyline, but from what I've seen, I think I could kind of relate to a little bit, especially, with the dark tones that we had in that first season. But overall, no, I just sort of, I was trying to draw from myself as much as I could. Yeah.
I feel like Degrassi does kind of have those archetypes of like, they have like the kind of brooding guy, but I do feel like Saad kind of broke out of that a little bit. And maybe it does come from him coming from a completely different place and having all these different experiences that he's able to break the mold. Because I do feel like he was brooding, but he was also very emotional and vulnerable. And there was a lot of different sides to him. And I like that we are able to see a lot of different things from him.
When I rewatched it, I was like, wow, he's so angry. And I understand why he's so, like, I understand why I played it that way, because like to come from like being kind of torn away from your home, having so many responsibilities, taking care of all of your siblings, being alone for the most part, in this new place, being bullied, being discriminated against. I mean, for even like the Syrian refugee crisis, like it's still like an ongoing thing. And like, 13 million plus people are like displaced from their homes. 90% are under the poverty line. Like they're all struggling to like really find work. A lot of them went to neighboring countries. Like I heard about like the ones that are in Lebanon. A lot of the people that are nationals of Lebanon, find it that like, oh, they're trying to take the jobs from us, this and that. So there's this whole like battle going on. And it's really sad because like they're just trying to live and survive. And like they've been pushed out of a place that they wanted to live in. They don't want to be somewhere else, but they have to be. And they're just trying to make it work. And everyone's just making it harder on them for the fact that, that they're there. So yeah, it's just like you're kind of getting beat down on all aspects. And that's something that a lot of us, especially growing up in Western society, just aren't really familiar with. And so, yeah, it was just, I tried like watching like just drone footage of like what was going on there, trying to get an idea of like what I'm dealing with. But even like watching it, I was like, I still can't really imagine what it's like to like be in that situation. I'm grateful to take on a character like that. I really love taking on like challenging characters. But yeah, it was hard to grasp in the beginning. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, wow. I know this is why I know Degrassi often, sometimes the struggles with the show is that they don't cast Syrian people to play Syrians. Sometimes they don't cast gay people to play gay people. But I think the context of the fact that Degrassi was starting these conversations like 10 years ago
Oh, yeah.
is huge. I had never seen the Syrian crisis covered on TV. Even still, it's hard to learn about the Syrian crisis. So I think it's very cool that you took that story on and made that, I mean, such a huge focal point of season 4 of Next Class. I think that really made an impact.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree. I don't have much to add on that, but I'm grateful. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I'm interested. Okay, so you've watched a little bit of the show. You know who Eli is. You know who Miles is. You now have auditioned for the show 4 or 5 times. You get to your first day on set. What is it like?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, well, I remember, I'm just trying to re-jog my memory. I remember like they gave us a bit of a tour. We kind of like walked around different parts of the set. I'd actually been on that set before. The previous show that I worked on, The Other Kingdom, they were actually, it's the same set area. Yes, it's just an area where they like film a lot of different TV shows, at least at the time.
I want to see.
I
want to see that. Yes. I gotta go look it up.
Oh yeah, you can look it up. Yeah, it was on season 1. Like episode 17 or something. Filming a scene in one of the coffee shops, and then it was the same ones that we had used in Degrassi as well. But yeah, I was just walking around. I was with Dahlia, I remember, and we were kind of just like getting familiar with the whole set, obviously us two being the new characters on set. And yeah, I don't know, it was a lot of like just getting to know people, saying hi, hello, going into the green room where we basically spend most of our time in between the scenes, things like that. And yeah, like I'm just trying to remember if that was a separate day. They're all getting kind of like mixed up together, but I remember I came in and we had the little tour, and then you just get your makeup done, you have your own little dressing room. And then you go out on set and then you start to perform. I'm trying to remember the first scene I actually filmed, because the way that we filmed it is it's not in sequence. Like we don't go from like episode 1 to episode 12. It's all like out of order. So I don't actually remember the first scene I filmed. Oh, geez. If it comes back to me, I'll let you know, but I don't remember
please do.
the exact one. Yeah. I'm trying to think.
Still cool to know that your first day on set was like, oh, I've been here before. These are my old stomping grounds.
Yeah, it was nice, and especially like it was like literally the job before that, so it was nice to be familiarized that way. But yeah, if I can remember the exact first scene, I'm drawing a blank right now, but like we can come back to it if it comes to me. I'll definitely mention it. Yeah,
I'll make sure to ask you right at the end just to see if it came back to you.
Please, yes, for sure.
Evie, before we go to the next part, Evie, do you have any other questions you want to ask about joining the Degrassi family?
I wanted to know what your favorite part of being part of the Degrassi family was. You got a chance to, like kind of reunite with some of them, and you've said that you've had some reunions over the years. So what's your favorite part? I know you weren't unfortunately, your time like actively as part of this cast was pretty short, but since then I feel like you've gotten a chance to really connect with the family and stay in touch. So are there any things that you really love about being part of the family and like the Degrassi legacy?
Yeah, absolutely. Being a part of the Degrassi legacy is very, very important to me, because I mean, especially hopping onto the show just before it was about to end, I didn't even know it was going to end. It makes me feel very, very lucky and fortunate for the entire experience. To be able to even say that I was on Degrassi feels so lucky. With me and Dahlia being the last ones, it's just like feels like we just hopped on the boat while it was taking off. Yeah, you know what I mean? So that was a lovely, lovely thing. But yeah, at the same time, the fact that we didn't really get to flesh out our characters, I felt like, I'm kind of like hopping onto this ship that's already been very, very well established. It's running really well. All these people that were working on the show have done such hard work and have been on it for many years and done many, many scenes, memorable scenes to make the show what it is and to make it memorable and beloved by so many fans. So when it came to that, I wanted to be able to be like, set my foothold onto the show a little bit better. I think that would have been nice. But I mean, obviously things didn't work out that way. I know that over the years, as I got to kind of like flesh out my own acting career, I had ups and downs. I went to business school, so trying to balance my acting career with business school was kind of tough. There were years after Degrassi was canceled where I just wasn't acting as much, and I felt like maybe I wasn't able to. I felt like I was moving away from the actors that I'd made friends with. Once you're kind of like in a different space, it's hard to reconnect with those people in another space, right? But then eventually, after COVID, I went to LA and I studied at the Lee Strasberg Institute. I came back. I had worked on a bunch of shows. I did my first feature film. I started getting more involved in being an actor again. I kind of grew out my hair, made myself look a little more, artsy fartsy or whatever. And and then I felt like I could reconnect with these people when I got to see them at the reunions. We just got to connect again, and I felt more like myself, more like I didn't have to like try to have people like me. I could really just be who I wanted to be.
You've established yourself a little bit
exactly more. Right. And I think my time in LA really got me to like learn about who I am, just kind of being alone and away from like the life that I was living here. You get to see all these new people, and they, their interactions with you kind of tell you who you are and where you're at in the current moment right now. So that was really helpful for me. So every time I've come back to the reunions, I've just felt like I can kind of chat with people more. I remember I got to see Monroe at the Canada Walk of Fame. It was real nice. That was great, actually. I had a Gucci suit on. I felt pretty nice.
You're flexing on Monroe Chambers.
I feel like I'm like, I can fit into this crowd right now, with all this Degrassi royalty. But it was great. He was amazing. I got to chat with him, just sort of pick his brains a little bit about acting, about the industry, and with Luke and everybody. It was just so nice. I felt like I really got to connect with them, on a personal level that I wasn't able to before. And maybe it's because I was younger. There was more of a divide in terms of our age groups or whatever. But
we also only recorded the one block of episodes.
That too. So like even like, in the entire span of the Degrassi universe, I feel like I'm a small speck at times. So I don't blame them if they don't like remember me or know me or anything like that. I mean, I got to kind of just be in that space, and I'm very grateful for those experiences.
I love that. Luke Billick came up to me and asked me what season I was on, and I wish I just lied and said I was on it, but I did play it extra one time, so that counts.
Nice. Hey, there you go. But right. There's just so many seasons, and like I even seeing all of the older cast members and getting to like become familiar with them as well, and it's just like when you see all these people that were from the older generations up until now, and like the entire legacy that has been built, it's just insane. Because there's not. Especially in Canada, like there's no other TV show like it. Like it's so funny when I tell people I'm like, I was on Degrassi, and they'll be like, oh, what is that? I never heard of that show. Like I'm like, you haven't heard of Degrassi? Like I understand if you haven't watched the show, like whatever, that's fine, but you haven't heard of it? Dude, Drake? That's like no,
absurd.
Exactly at this point.
So that's just funny to me.
Okay, amazing. Thank you for telling us about that. I want to transition into a little bit about you're actually playing Saad now. We've gotten through the auditions, our first days. I'm curious, kind of a two-part question. What does it feel like to tell a story that's right out of the headlines through Saad? And how do you feel that Saad's story fits into Degrassi's larger tradition of tackling these stories? It's a big loaded question, but.
Yeah. I mean, when you say like right out of the headlines, you're talking about like the Syrian refugee crisis and things like that. Yeah. I mean, that's a big thing to tackle. I mean, because a lot of like, it's a very politically sensitive place to be in. When I was trying to like work on this character, I really wanted to make sure I did everything right and to give the character as much justice as I could, to tell the story as accurately as possible, because I did know that, in the back of my head, I was going to get a little backlash from some place somewhere. So I just want to do the best job I could and try to minimize that as much as possible. But also, me being kind of new to the whole acting space, and especially this being my first big TV show, it was definitely an experience for me to try to handle all of those different, mixed reviews and different opinions about my character. But I thought I just, try to play it as honestly as possible. And, when I watch it back, I'm like, I think I I did good. I think I'm happy
Yeah.
with the, how I try to tell this story and bring some sort of realism to the experiences that maybe Syrian refugees had as far as I could.
Yeah.
In terms of like, yeah, the entire Degrassi universe, I mean, yeah, like we have so much history in terms of like just, what is it? The first like main character that was gay, the first like LGBT like relationships that are appearing on screen. I'm pretty sure Stefan Bergen was the first person to say the F word on like what
Yep.
is it, on Canadian television? I'm not
Yep.
sure.
I
Yeah,
believe
I
so,
don't
yeah.
Primetime
remember.
Canadian television. Yep.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So there's all these like legendary like staples that have gone on, and even like what was it? Yeah, the first trans character as well
Yep.
to be depicted. Even if you probably watch back those episodes, it's like they still kind of like they don't feel dated. Like they still kind of hold true today, which is like just a testament to how like well written the show is. I knew that I had to take this character and do a good job with it. And I think with the fourth season, I got a really good storyline. I was really happy with how the writers had like kind of fleshed out the rest of my character and let me kind of explore all these things with discrimination, with just like hilarious moments, even with like Chelsea kind of like dropping her dress, for the birth of Esme
Yeah.
and all these things that are kind of like, not stuff that he's used to from back home, and he's getting a little dose of like the Western society. So it
Yeah.
was cool to experience all of that. When you get that script, you sort of like, okay, this is my job. I have to go do this job, and I'm going to try to do it well, and then the rest will kind of play out itself. But yeah, I mean
That's so
those are my thoughts
cool.
there.
I love that. This is one of the reasons why I love Degrassi because yes, they're taking storylines that are out of headlines, they're tackling these big social issues, but I think the reason why we still love it today is because they humanize it. They take those big, big things that seem so scary and distant from us and say, what
Mm.
if this happened to a 15-year-old that you care about? And I think that really comes through in Saad's character, which is what I really appreciate about his role. Like that. When it comes to the people at Degrassi preparing you for this, do they give you any kind of support or guidance to handle a big storyline like this?
Oh yeah. Like I had like a dialect coach that they had assigned to me to help me kind of work on the accent. They had hired somebody to help me kind of do the Arabic lines, which I definitely needed. I needed that assistance. Sometimes I listen back to them like, oh, geez, it wasn't perfect, but then maybe that's just a perfectionist in me, like kind of, taking a jab. But no, they helped me a lot. They were very supportive. Everyone was very lovely. I never had any like negative experiences with anybody else. I think everybody wanted each other to succeed and do well. So yeah, no, it was a pleasure to be on that set. I think about it all the time. It brings me good memories. And hopefully I get to have an experience like that again in the future to be on a big show like that. But yeah, no, it was fabulous, and now it's just a moment in time, really. So
I
yeah.
love that. I know you might be not confident about your Arabic, but I'm confident there are kids who speak Arabic who saw that and felt really seen
Yeah.
by being on TV. So I hope
I
that
hope
makes you feel
so.
better.
That
Yeah.
would make me, yeah, that does make me feel bad. I did have a lot of people reach out to me, over Instagram being like, oh, I'm so happy that we got to see our, people from our nationality or from where we're from, being depicted the way it was. And you did a really great job. If anyone's watching this, those meant the world to me, and keeps making me want to do what I do. I love acting, and I love trying to like reach out to a wider audience and have people, be affected by the work I'm doing. So when I get those comments, it means the world to me. Yeah.
I love that. I know my favorite, the reason I love Degrassi is because it's the show that helped me come out of the closet. But the person who played that character who affected me is a straight person, and I still love them. And it'd be great
Yeah.
if they were played by a gay person, but it doesn't change anything about how a character makes you feel on TV. So I love
For sure. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Big question. I think you've probably addressed this a couple of times, but when you're playing a character that's as misunderstood as Saad is, as an actor,
Mm.
how do you make sure that you understand him?
Oh, I mean, being misunderstood, I think, is not something that you really need to play. Like I just had to kind of be myself. I know my truth. I know who I am as a person. I've made all these friends. I had people that liked me for certain qualities that I possessed. To be misunderstood is just for people to not really see those qualities and not even care to really pay attention to them. And sort of just categorize you and label you and just sort of and put you in this group, can marginalize you. It's just like having small-minded people. He even says it, like after Lola fires him from his job for assuming that he stole the tips. He says it like, you're small-minded just like everybody else. So that was the one problem I think Saad had, is just like thinking that like everybody is just kind of putting me into this small box when I have so many qualities and so many things that I can offer. And we really got to see that flourish a lot more in season 4. You know, I went from this like brooding, mysterious, kind of angry character to, you know, showing off my softer sides, showing that I can be very loving and caring and, you know, a family man, you know, with my younger siblings and things like that. So I think that was the whole purpose of the story, is to kind of show that, like, you know, when in the first season you kind of just sort of see one thing and maybe that's what he is, but then you get to peel, I guess, what's the saying? Like, yeah, peel a slice back. You see the things from the inside, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, that got fleshed out in season 4. So that was really something that was nice. I didn't really know when I first started. When I did season 3, I didn't know the storyline for season 4 until like halfway through. So I had no idea that it was gonna like go in that direction. Because yeah, they're sort of writing it in real time and seeing how, like, you know, the character plays out and like the way that they go about acting the certain scenes and saying like, oh, okay, like, you know, and they carry it over into the next scene. Even like with Hunter's character, him being like, oh, he seems very angry all the time. You know, I think that was just based off the fact that I played it very angry in the beginning of the season. So they saw it in real time, and then you know, they made the character as it went along, and I just sort of kind of rolled with it while it was going.
Yeah.
You know, it's just
Wow.
moving cycle. But yeah.
Were there any specific moments of playing Saad that you felt were either like really challenging or even really rewarding?
I remember watching back the scene of it was in season 4, episode 5, after the video got out. Everybody is, you know, upset about what I had to say about Belgium, things like that, and I'm kind of having this soft, intimate scene with Lola. We're just kind of alone. She gives me the shirt, makes me decide to go and speak at the rally. That scene, I got to really talk about things that, you know, I felt like people were experiencing within that region, especially with the crisis going on, and getting to feel what they're feeling, at least to a certain extent. That's the thing about acting, is like really having to experience these negative things and making yourself go through them. I'm imagining, you know, my house getting bombed, my friends being gone, my farm getting bombed. I don't have a farm, but like, you know, if I did, all of these things that happen, if I was to just, you know, you imagine all these things, like maybe friends, your school, the life you live, and then poof, it's just vanished. You know, it really elicited an emotional response in me and made me very, very sad. And you know, when I got to get through that scene, it was very, very rewarding, because I think it was one of the first scenes where I really got to just really, I don't know, just act my heart out in a way, get very emotional and talk about sensitive topics. And I mean, like, that's why I want to be an artist, right? You want to go and speak about these current events and sorts of things, and experience these sorts of pains and have other people relate to you. And that's where I felt like I got the opportunity to do that. So I could say that scene definitely, I feel very proud about. Yeah.
I love that. I really resonated with Saad's character, and this is where me and Evie are going to take a moment to tell you what we love about him. But specifically for me, what I love about this era of the show and Saad's character is often TV shows will have one character come in. They'll have one queer character. They'll have one character who experiences this like really traumatic event, and they represent everybody. And what I loved about Degrassi in this era is we had Goldie, who was a Muslim who was born in Canada and had these ideals about dreaming what life would be like living somewhere else, but ultimately was born in Canada. We had Rasha, who really was happy to leave Syria and where she came from, and explored her new Canadian identity. And then you had Saad, who had brought such an individual experience to the show of saying, hey, I wish I was back home. I wish I was with my friends. I wish I didn't have to leave my home country and all those things I had in my farm. And I really loved that you were a part of this kind of bigger storytelling and really allowing us to feel the emotions of all these different kinds of kids who come over, instead of just having that one kid that's supposed to represent everybody. And they love coming over here, and it's great to be here. Thanks, Canada. What's that nuance of when you really don't want to be there, but you're forced to? So that's what I loved about Saad. Evie?
Absolutely. I agree with that. I also very much related to Saad on a personal level, and the things that you were just speaking about like the way that he was so angry and so consumed by like being upset that he wasn't still in Syria, and experience like holding on to his past life and holding on to things that he can't change, and allowing that to kind of like consume him and isolate him from the people around him, and not seek community and not feel comfortable seeking community and not opening up to people. And then that slow opening up and realizing that he is safe, and meeting people like Lola who allow him to feel safe enough to show his real self and not be so like covered with like a shell of those negative
Yeah,
emotions. So
yeah,
I really liked seeing him kind of slowly open up and change and get to see, like you said, those sides, those different sides of him because he was feeling safer and because he was feeling supported by the characters
absolutely.
around him.
Yeah, yeah. Like what he was trying to say is just like, yeah, we should support the Belgian victims, but we should also like be,
Yeah.
shining a spotlight on other countries that are like experiencing similar or yeah, just similar or worse things potentially. I mean, I don't want to like rank or anything like that. Everybody is just treated equally. It's just
Yeah.
that was all he was trying to say, and to be just so immediately antagonized is something that he was experiencing a lot of the time when he was living in Canada. So to have someone, yeah, listen to him, understand him, just take the time to try and understand him
Yeah.
was
And
very, very important and meaningful. Yeah.
yeah. And that feeling of like feeling very misunderstood and
Hmm.
making him close off to the people around him was, yeah, something that I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of people, myself included, have experienced in their teenage years, and it makes it really hard to connect with people. So I was glad, even though we didn't get to see more of Saad's journey, I'm glad we at least got to see enough of his journey to see him open up and get to experience and enjoy life a little bit.
Absolutely.
Oh, I
Absolutely.
Yeah.
love that, Evie. Now that we've said why we love you, we are going to turn it over to the Degrassi fans to hear their questions and get their moment to connect with you too. The very first question I have for you is from Glenn, who wanted to know, what did you think when you found out you were going to be part of Maya's season 3 story arc?
Oh, I was very excited about that because I know Maya's like, she's kind of like the face of the show at
Yeah.
period of time. We were going to sit down and do like a bit of a cold read, and I got to meet her for the first time. And yeah, I think that was actually, now that we mentioned it, I think it's coming to me now. Yeah, I think that was the first like day.
We
Yeah, that was
found
the first
We figured it
day.
it.
out.
We did
Hey,
it. We made it. Yeah. So I'm glad this question came
mystery
up. Thank you so
solved.
much, Glenn. So yeah, I remember I walked in. We were doing a cold read. We were just kind of like talking about the scene, and I kind of just like went through the scene with her, and we were trying to flesh out what the character was like and what we were trying to go through and experience, and if we were like just aligned in terms of our perspectives of how this storyline was going to work. But yeah, I remember meeting her, and I just felt like, hey, I made it to the big leagues. This is great. Like I don't know, I was like, damn. I'm just like, because I remember seeing her a lot on television, and then just to see her in person, it was just kind of like, whoa, holy crap! Am I watching TV right now? And so yeah, it was cool. Like she was very sweet. She was very nice, welcoming, and the fact that I got to like work with her as starting out on the show was really nice because I know that she, her being such an integral part of the show really got me to get that spotlight with her. Let me show my character, and yeah, it was a very exciting experience. I loved it.
Oh, I love that. Thanks for the question, Glenn. The next one comes from Kylia, who wants to know your favorite scene to film with Amanda Arcuri.
That's tough to say actually, because I did enjoy a lot of scenes with her. I really like the scene where I'm taking the pictures
Oh, yeah.
of my sister, and then she comes and tells me that I got the job, this and that. I really like that. I like the scenes that we had in the school. Also, when I had to scrub my socials because I was talking to Fadi. Actually, you know what? I'll say that's my favorite scene. Yeah, yeah. When I had to walk in, she kind of stops me, and I pull her away into the classroom. It gets a little bit darker, and I'm like, "You listen, I've been talking to a radical. I need to scrub my socials," and she sort of helps me out with that. That scene I really enjoy. I just felt like I acted very well in that scene. I remember I was doing the scene. The first couple of takes, I was like, oh, I'm not getting it there. I'm not getting there. And then we had a little pep talk, and then I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. This is it. This take is the take. And then like I remember I got in there and we did the scene, and it went exactly how I wanted it. I think that was the one that we actually ended up using on the Netflix show. But I just felt very, very in it with her. It was like very intense, and we were just really going at it. I remember Stefan afterwards being like, "Yeah, great job. That's the one. We can, move on." And yeah, it felt like a big achievement for me to get through that scene and to do it the way I did. I really enjoyed that one the most.
Oh, I love that. Lola is one of my favorite characters from that era because she is such a good friend to everybody. She helps
Mm-hmm.
Yael through their gender transition. She's so like unjudgmental that I think she was the perfect character to pair with you because she's just
Oh
like, I
yeah,
see you, I get you, I feel you. Love that.
yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Amber and Casey had a similar question, which was if you could rewrite your storyline, what would you rewrite it as, or would you keep it
Mm.
exactly as it was?
Be honest, I'm not much of a writer, so I can't really say I would rewrite it in a certain way. Like I don't think I really knew what like what I was going to expect with this character. I was really just looking forward to like getting the script, seeing where these writers wanted to take me, and going there. No, yeah, I really can't think of it. I mean, the first season, didn't have as much screen time. I didn't have to say as much, and I think that was really good for me in a way because it just sort of helped me warm up into the character, which I think I really needed. You know, like I was mentioning how I was kind of overthinking my accent, and maybe part of that had to do with the fact that I had so little lines that I'm really like overthinking. Like I need, these lines that I have, I need to do them well. So there was that, but when rewatching it, it's like, yeah, everything turned out really great. I really enjoyed it. You know, just kind of being that supporting character for Mai's story arc was a good place for me to start. And then for me to have my own plot line in the fourth season was a dream. I didn't expect that at all. It was pretty, I remember even talking with some of the fellow cast, and they're like, oh, you already got your own plot line? That's amazing. And I was like, yeah, what an achievement. I don't know. I guess they like these. I'm grateful with it. I wouldn't change a thing, to be fair. I loved it. And yeah, that's all I have to say.
I love that. I know they gave us such
Yeah.
a good base of Saad and who he was, and the potential for him was huge in
Yeah.
season 5. That leads me
Totally.
to my next block of questions are about, I think, the thing everybody wants to know about. Catherine wants to know, when did you learn that Degrassi Next Class was canceled?
Mm. Oh yeah. I think it was around like 2019, I think it was,
Wow.
that it was like officially canceled, if I'm
Yep,
not
they left it up in the
mistaken.
air for a long
I
time.
Yeah, because I remember 2017, the fourth season had come out, and I remember that summer. I think I was waiting on like, oh yeah, when are we gonna do the next the next
Yeah.
block of 2 seasons, right? And I knew that the show wasn't renewed yet, so I was like maybe pretty hopeful for 2018. I think it got officially canceled in 2019, or there was like reports about it, but I think actually by 2018, yeah, 2018, I think I was like, oh, okay, this is probably not happening because I was like 2017, sure, the show just came out. Maybe they're just still figuring it out, and then 2018, it didn't happen. And then I was like, oh, okay. And then by 2019, yeah, I think by 2018,
You're like,
2019, I was like, yeah, it's probably not happening. I don't know.
wow.
We were all just like left in limbo. But yeah, it was sad. I was like really like I was almost like certain I was going to be coming back. I did not think that it was going to get canceled whatsoever, and I don't think a lot of people did either. So
No,
it
we
was
did
yeah, it
not.
was a shock to us. I just think that in terms of like the production, they were trying to figure out what to do with it, where to go, and I know Netflix canceled it. So like, what was the next step? Well, if there was a new network that would want to take it on, and if they would want to like carry out that vision the way that the creators wanted it to, was a whole thing. We didn't really get much word on it until it was officially out in the blue, but it was probably around that time.
Brutal. How did it feel emotionally to go from being like, I'm probably going to be one of the leading characters, all the seniors are
Yeah.
graduating, I just had this huge storyline, this is everything I've dreamed of, to just never getting a call back? How did that emotionally feel?
Oh, it was tough. It was a tough time for me. Because I was but it was humbling. I needed it. Like I remember when I first got the show, I felt like on top of the world. I thought I made it. I thought like I don't need to do anything anymore. My career is ready. I'm set.
Yeah.
I was on Degrassi, and so I was having a little bit of this experience, and then eventually when the show got canceled, and I was like, oh darn, like I don't know. It was just the work sort of dried up a little bit. I just wasn't. I just felt like, yeah, like, is that it? Is it done? Is it over for me? Am I not gonna like be able to do this anymore? I don't know. Like you have all these varying thoughts, as an actor because you just have these ups and downs. But that was my first experience with it, a huge experience where like being on Degrassi, like we mentioned, when I first got it, I was so elated, I was so happy, I was so on top of the world. For it to kind of be taken away, it was like it was a humbling experience for me. It just made me realize like I just got to keep working. I got to keep getting better. I'm not where I need to be. And, if I thought that I had made it and I was all set, I wasn't. And I'm glad for that. It made me go to LA, it made me go study, and made me just like, just delve further into the whole acting craft and trying to be the best that I can be. And I feel like if I didn't have that experience, maybe I would have stagnated a little bit. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was tough in the beginning, but I feel like now looking back on it, it was probably a good thing for me. Yeah.
Wow, one of my favorite things about learning about you and following online and listening to your podcast is you can find the best case scenario out of anything that goes wrong. You will find the light no matter how dark it is.
Oh, that's so kind. I appreciate it. I mean, you got to, right? Like, I'm not trying
Yeah.
to like wither away and like go in a corner and just be all sad and feel sorry for myself. I'm just like, what can I do to like, get the most out of this? So I appreciate that.
I love
Thank you.
that. It's very inspiring.
Yeah.
James wants to know, can you share any season 5 storylines that may have been planned for your character, if there's anything?
Because we never got the word on a new season,
Mhm.
I never got a word on like what the storylines would be, because I remember when I first started, we came in, we had a whole intro. Oh my God, the first day is coming back to me so much now. Yeah. So, yeah, like we were just like in this cafeteria area with all the actors and everybody that was going to work on the show. And I saw Linda and Steven and it was just like a whole intro and everything. And then eventually we did like a whole table read. So when we were there, we would do the table read, and that was the first time we would be reading the script. But because we never got that opportunity to go back onto set and have that table read, we never really knew what would have happened in season 5. I was very much looking forward to the HBO. I know we had the talks about the HBO Degrassi, which I was like, I was sure I was not going to be on it. Maybe I would have done like a cameo or something, just because if
you would
they
have been
wanted me.
graduated.
Incredible.
Right, you know what I mean? But I was very much looking forward to that and what that would have come out to. But I don't think that came to fruition, because I think that when it came to between the studios and what Degrassi wanted, I think the networks and what Degrassi wanted, I think that there was just a bit of a divide in terms of like, they were trying to implement a lot of like non-high school characters into the show, and it would have really lost the identity of what they were trying to do with Degrassi, trying to see it through the perspective and the eyes of these high schoolers. So there, just that divide in the vision was always an issue. So we never really got to get that, final script for what could have happened after.
Wow, the opportunities are endless. Megan, on top of that, wants to know, if Saad's storyline continued, what would you have liked to see happen?
Oh, see, that's so tough. Because I mean, I definitely would have been interested to see where the relationship with Lola and Saad would have gone. But yeah, like I thought about this a lot, and I thought that maybe because after season 4, had Saad stayed, I think he would have really gone more so used to the culture. He's already made all of these friends that he's around. He's feeling more accepted. And that's all he really needed to basically kind of let himself be in this new world. He took off his keffiyeh. He kind of just got to be a little more free with things. So I think that it would have kind of pushed away from the original purpose of why Saad was there. Like, Saad was originally introduced to, represent like this current event, crisis that was going on, the experiences of these people that are living in these regions that are, suffering. And so I think that it would have moved away from that into kind of like, the sort of storylines that the other characters were experiencing. So it might have diluted those first couple of seasons if it had continued. So I thought about this a lot, and I'm like, I don't really know. And I don't know if it should have continued. Maybe being open-ended could have been a good thing. So yeah, like if I had to think about it, I'm like, yeah, maybe like the relationship with Saw, where that would have gone, what kind of drama like the writers would have stirred up would have been interesting. Because I don't know, they always left us on the like we never really knew what was coming sometimes. Like at least I didn't, obviously being new to it. So yeah, that's really my thoughts when it comes to that sort of question.
Yeah, that makes me feel comforted to think about the final moments of Next Class and think, yeah, maybe it is a good thing that, life continues on. Who knows what could have happened? He could have done that. I like that. Makes me feel comforted as a Degrassi fan.
Yeah.
Catherine does want to know, do you think Saad and Lola would have been endgame?
Oh, that's a good question, huh? No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
That's a hot take, Parham. That's a hot take.
I guess so. No, I don't think they would have been endgame. No. I mean, I think they were really good for each other at that time. I think it's what they both needed at that time. But I don't know where life would have taken each of us. Yeah, like who knows? You go to college or university, and like that alone can really like split up people just on its own, regardless of like the the relationship that you have with each other. But I don't think so.
I think they were good friends, but like just because she was nice to him doesn't mean that they are necessarily going to end up together forever. They can be friends.
Yeah, exactly. I think they just really needed each other at that point in time. But I do think that maybe, like their interests, they're growing up, what were we? I guess like 15, 16 years old. We're growing up. We don't, we don't like the same things, from when we were like 16 years old. We grow up, we have different tastes, different interests, and look for different things. So I just think naturally it probably wouldn't have worked out. But yeah, that's just my opinion.
Valid.
That's valid.
I knew we'd find a hot take. I knew it. Kennedy, nice and simple question. What's your favorite song and what's your favorite TV show?
Oh, cool. My favorite song, I mean, that's changing all the time. But I really like that new Bad Bunny album. DTMF, I'm listening to that a lot. It's just got good vibes. I like the lyrics. Not that I understand Spanish that well, but like, when I looked it up, I was like, oh, that's kind of cute. So yeah, like I like that song a lot right now. My favorite TV show. I just watched Squid Game. I really like Squid Game. That's fun. What else? My favorite TV show of all time, though. It'll probably have to be like maybe Breaking Bad. I really like Game of Thrones. I would have said Game of Thrones if it wasn't for that last season. But if I had to pick a show, it'd have to be Breaking Bad. Yeah, that's my favorite show of all time. But yeah, right now Squid Game, pretty interesting. So
I'm ashamed to say I've never seen Breaking Bad or Game of Thrones. I haven't seen it.
That's okay. That's all right. I mean, honestly, Game of Thrones, I feel like, now that you know that it probably doesn't end so well, you don't want to maybe waste so much of your time on that. But I mean, no, hard to say wasted time. Like, it's very well done, but it's just, that last season was a bummer. And then Breaking Bad's good. I mean, it's maybe not everyone's cup of tea, but if you're into it, I'm sure you would like it. Yeah.
I gotta check it out. I'll check out at least the first season. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
I was supposed to say I've seen, I think, the first season, and I don't feel like I need to.
It is. I think it's a bit slow. It's a bit slow the first season, right? Like,
hot take. I gotta put
Game
aside
of Thrones
some time to binge some stuff. It's so much.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just like it gets you or it doesn't. Even Game of Thrones first season, you're hearing all this like medieval jargon and like you're not really following sometimes, and it's kind of slow.
My vibe.
Yeah, I understand. That's totally fair, But I stuck through and I liked it. So hey, who knows? I mean,
that.
Other than the last season of Game of Thrones, but yeah.
Degrassi CSI, they're a Degrassi super fan from Hawaii, and they said,
okay.
Hi, Parham. Is there anyone from Degrassi's class or Degrassi that you still see and hang out with or keep in touch with?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Amanda. Yeah, like me and her, we take acting classes together. She actually recommended me to an acting class, and I've been enjoying it very, very much with a director and actor named Joey Klein, who's fantastic. So we got to reconnect there. I also do see Dahlia like on occasion. I'll try to go get coffee with her or maybe see her at the reunions, whenever we can. I actually had my the screening of my film at the Toronto Real Asian Film Festival, which she came out to support me for, and I really, really appreciate that she did. So thank you, Dahlia, if you're watching this. But yeah, those two I would say I see the most often. Yeah, and then the rest of them I do maybe see them on occasion when there's like reunions and things like that, where we get to have all the Degrassi people again together. But I got to see those two like on my own time more often. Yeah.
Oh, that is so cool. I love that.
Yeah.
I'm going to sneak in one more question from me, which is, did you keep anything from Degrassi Next Class? Do you have anything from your time on the show?
Oh, no. You see, unfortunately, my house caught fire. So I lost a lot of stuff. Yeah. I know.
That's a good excuse to not have it. Yeah,
you know what I mean? It kind of sucked. Yeah, like that was like, 2021? So I lost a lot of things, along with any Degrassi memorabilia I may have had. I remember they gave us like a USB, like with the Degrassi, like the mascot and stuff like that. That
one. Don't you?
Oh, you do?
I do have one.
Degrassi has
one. Let me grab it. I'll grab it. I'll show everybody.
So everyone knows, yes, please.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. That's the one. Yeah, that's exactly the one. So I had that. That was the last thing I got, and I didn't really get anything else from the show actually. Like as a memorabilia sort of thing. I think that was the only thing. But yeah, I lost. Yeah, I mean, if there was anything else, unfortunately, I got lost in the fire. So it's all right though. But hey, I'm here. Yeah, here to tell the story, so that's nice.
I'm glad you're good.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Oh man, EeveePacini, do you have any questions you'd like to ask Parham before we get into trivia?
Sure. I just wanted to ask one more, something that you've kind of touched on a little bit, but I would love to hear like your definitive answer. What is the best thing that came of Degrassi not continuing for you? You've listed a few things, but what would you say is like the best thing?
That's tough. With Degrassi not continuing, it's a lot of what ifs. Like, if I had continued this character, would I have been maybe typecast? Would I, if people ever considered me for other roles, would it be like, to play the foreigner with an accent and this and that? And like, would I ever get the opportunity to really just like kind of play myself? Like, I know I go by, Parham Rownaghi, which when people like, especially studios or people see that, it's a foreign name. So naturally you kind of get like, being a universally ethnically looking guy, I can kind of play
you
a
fit
lot of these
into
other
those
characters.
roles.
Yeah. But I was like, maybe, would I get the opportunity to kind of just play a guy like me? And I eventually did in my last film. Like I got to, work with a bunch of like Persian filmmakers and actors and, get to tell a story about second generation Persians in Toronto. And I got to just be the way I am and be my, show a little bit of my comedy and be funny and just be myself. And that's something that I was really looking forward to, because I remember when I was on Degrassi, I was like, I felt like one of the few characters where I'm like, oh, like I don't get to fully be myself. Like I do really need to be playing this like different sort of character. I can bring myself to the role in a lot of ways, like try to find where we kind of intersect and come in the middle. But that's something that I think about. I mean, other than that, I don't know. Yeah, that's really the only main thing. I mean, other than that, it's a lot of what ifs. I could go on and on for days, but yeah, like who knows
It's a pretty definitive
if it was a good or a bad thing. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I would have loved to continue the show. Would have loved to see how things would have gone if they wanted to go in that direction. Yeah, I'm just left with what ifs at this point. Yeah.
Everything happens for a reason, though.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
happened the way it was supposed to.
Totally.
Exactly. I love that. What is the biggest impact that playing Saad and being on Degrassi has had on you in your life?
I remember when I was starting out in the industry, I had gotten my first episode on a show. I was like, oh, I'm not an actor yet. And then I got my second episode, like an episode on another show. I was like, that's great, but I'm not like, I can't really say I'm an actor yet. Like, I can't like go out and say that. And then I got Degrassi, and then I was like, boom, yes, I'm an actor. I can say I'm an actor. And that was the biggest thing for me. I think that was just kind of like the stamp of like, okay, you've done it. Like you write a passage. You are in the industry now. You have been, sort of just, like propped up to be a burgeoning star for the future. And so I think that was a very big impact for me. If I ever like tell people I'm an actor and they're like, oh, like, what have you done? I can always go back to Degrassi and say I did Degrassi, and no one can really knock me for that. So that's a huge thing. And like, I'm very grateful for it, because I know it's a privilege. Not a lot of people, especially Canadian actors, get that opportunity. Like I mentioned before, it's a rite of passage to be a part of the show. And I think that's the biggest thing that changed my life, is just like being able to be like the actor identity that I wanted, I got to have. And so I'm forever grateful for that. Yeah.
That's incredible. And one of my favorite things about doing this podcast is, of course, we get to hear stories like this and how Degrassi impacted you. But we also get to catch up with our favorite characters and our favorite actors and hear what they're doing today. What are you up to today? Do you have any projects you want to tell us about? Anything else you want to watch? Take it away.
Yeah. I mean, well, like I mentioned, this film that just was in the film festival circuit. We won the Audience Choice Award and Best Director at the Toronto Real Asian Film Festival. It did get a very good reception. It's called His Father's Son. It's TBD. We're still kind of like figuring it out when it's going to come out. Hopefully it can get out on streaming, but if it does, just follow my socials at Parham Rownaghi, and I'll keep you updated on that. Other than that, I do have this documentary reenactment that I did. It's about Baha'i students in Iran. Another, marginalized story of these a marginalized group in Iran where they're not allowed to study, go to school. They can't even work in some cases. So I basically play like a real person that like tried to attend like this kind of underground university in Iran, and then he gets arrested and put in prison. So that's a story that I'm hoping to see sometime in March, maybe, or April. I think it might be coming out, and I'll give more details on where that can be found. Other than that, I am working on a play called Mask of the Red Death out here in Toronto, based on the Edgar Allan Poe play. And so it's a little battle of the rich versus the poor sort of thing. So that's a nice storyline to go on there. And especially with everything going on, politically, I think it's an interesting story to tell. So that's something I'm very excited about. And absolutely. I mean, if you want to keep updated with anything in the future, you can always, just follow me on my socials, and I'll let y'all know.
Hell yeah. You're booked and busy, sir. Oh my God.
Thank you. I'm trying.
Yeah. And me and Evie will gladly share anything and everything on our socials. No problem.
Appreciate it.
Parham, you have survived at over an hour of Degrassi superfan questions. You made it through trivia. You've survived the Degrassi Kid podcast. Thank you so much for doing this with us.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you guys so much for supporting me and all my endeavors and everything I do. I really Means the world to me. I'm wishing you all the best with this podcast. Not that you need any wishes, like you're doing amazing. But this has been an absolute pleasure. I want to thank you both again. Thank you. This was great.
Thank
I loved
you.
it.
Awesome. Evie, do you want to say any goodbyes before we go?
Just a big thank you again. And if you get a chance to say hi to Amanda for me, I would absolutely love that.
She's
100%.
She is I love her so much. So, but genuinely, thank you so much. This was an amazing time. It's so good to reconnect with you.
This has been awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, that's the end of our interview. Parham, thank you so much. We'll keep you updated on when it goes live. This has been a dream come true. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. Yes.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.
Thank you so much for watching another episode of the Degrassi Kid podcast. Shout out to my amazing editor, EeveePacini, who put this together in such a quick amount of time. We're so lucky to have you. We're also going to say a shout out to our brand new Patreon subscribers, Juliet, Sarah Skirvin, and Laura Solis, who just joined recently. Thank you so much. Your support means so much. And of course, our long-term Patreon subscribers who have been here forever. We're saying a shout out to Glenn, Jolene, Catherine, Amber, Angelica, Christopher, Degrassi CSI, Kylea, Mundo Man 333, Nicholas, Sarah J, and Shannon, who are on some of our highest tiers over on Patreon. It means the world. We're also saying a shout out to Alyssa, Angie, Becca, Billy, Blueberry, Brittany, Katrina, Cosmo, Courtney, Dave, Dee, Gina, Jess, Joe, Joey, Casey, Kennedy, Kristen, Layla, Laura, Lily, Lizzie, Megan, Mina, Nikki, Rachel, Racine, Sarah, Sam, Stephanie, Taylor, Brittany, Darcy, Jess, Lindsay, Randy, Alana, Chrissy, Emily, Honey, Jamie, Lizzie Games, Mackenzie Russell, Mike, Mix Lucy, Sarah, Shane, Sanita, and Tierney. You guys have been supporting me for so long now. You're the reason we get to do these types of projects with Degrassi actors and Degrassi fans. Thank you so much. And have a good night. I love you. Bye.